Hi there, and welcome to another Draw with me. My name is Gregory, and ideally each week I get together with you and we draw together. We draw something, anything. The main thing is to have some time together to draw. So, whoops, in between technological challenges. So today is going to be about badness, being bad, not ethically, but artistically. You know, there's this phenomenon that occurs to anybody who draws, no matter how long they've been drawing, no matter how many classes they've taken, no matter how brilliantly talented they are, where they just do bad drawings. And I thought that would be something worth exploring, particularly since, you know, I am a master of the bad drawing. And I just wanted to explore that, to talk about it, and then to do some bad drawing together. So what I would suggest, for those of you who haven't done this before, generally what I do is I'm going to blather for a little bit, and I'm going to show you some stuff, and then I'm going to take out my sketchbook and a pen, and I'm going to do some drawing, and I would welcome you to do the same with me. And if you want to, you can do the kind of drawing that I'm going to be doing, which is I'm going to be drawing a self-portrait from a mirror. I have a mirror right here, you can't see it. But it looks basically like what you're looking at now, except reversed, and it's of me. So I'm going to be drawing me in the mirror, and you can draw yourself in the mirror. You could draw yourself, and turn on your phone and turn on the camera if you must, and do it that way, but I'm going to be using the old analog form of it. And ideally, I'd like to do 4 drawings, and I'm going to time them so they're about 4 minutes long. So we'll see how long this whole session goes, but that's kind of my goal, is to explore this idea and then to do some drawings, and I have some ideas for what we could do. So I want to say hello to the various people who are here. There seem to be a number of you, and I'm glad that you're here, and that you're going to be drawing with me. And if you're watching this later on, it doesn't really matter. You can watch it whenever you want to and draw whenever you want to. Just feel free to ignore the entire assignment and draw whatever you want, but the main thing is just do some drawing. So that's what we're going to be doing today, drawing with me. And has anybody out there ever done a bad drawing? If not, if you've never done a bad drawing, this is your opportunity to, for the first time, do one. If you're really good at doing bad drawings, all the better. We're really set up, because one of the things I've been thinking about when it comes to bad drawings is what if you intend to do a bad drawing? What if you set out to do a bad drawing and you succeed? Pretty good, right? You've succeeded. What seemed to be failure has turned into success. So I'm hoping for you that you will have success at making a bad drawing, and perhaps you will fail and your bad drawing won't actually be bad, which of course is a form of success too. So I'm back here in New York City, where I live. I've been away for the last few weeks. We didn't do one of these sessions last week because I was actually on a plane at this time last week, but I'm here now. It is a very rainy day, and tomorrow it's supposed to reach 100 degrees Fahrenheit, which is unusual even for New York City. Last week I was in Phoenix, where it's pretty normal to reach 100 degrees. And next week I'm going to be in Amsterdam, so we'll see. Okay, so I thought, let me talk about bad drawings that I've done, first of all. You know, recently my co-founder of Sketchbook, Kosha Kona, was here in New York, as was our friend Felix Scheinberger, and I did some drawings. We were in a bar. It was after we had been working, we were really busy, and we went to a bar, and we decided, like, let's do some drawings together of each other. And I was tired. Let me begin by providing a litany of excuses, because those are an essential component of any bad drawing session. Is why could you have done better but somehow didn't? Who is to blame? And in this case, I was tired. It was a dark bar. I had a beer. I was intimidated by being with Felix Scheinberger, who's one of the artists I admire. Kosha, who's another artist I admire. So we decided that we would both draw Kosha. That Felix and I would both draw Kosha. So I did this drawing. I did the drawing, in case you need to be told, I did the drawing on the left, and Felix did the drawing on the right. And this is one of those drawings that my wife likes to remind me about and say, hey, remember that horrendously bad drawing that you did of Kosha? And, I would like to say that this was exceptional, but, I don't know that it was. Here's some other bad drawings that I've done of Kosha. I'll show you this one. So this one was not done in a bar, and I was not. I think we did this. We drew each other on video conference, and I drew this. Not very good drawing at first. What else? Here's another one. Sort of mannish, brooding drawing of Kosha. And here's Kosha as sort of a 9-year-old. So it could just be that I'm not very good at drawing Kosha, but here's the person who I've drawn the most. In case you need to have that explained, that's me. Let me move it so you can see. Pretty damn good, don't you think? Yeah. Just in case you're wondering, it says it right there. So there it is. That's me. Looking rather slender. Anyway. But another phenomenon is not just individual bad drawings, but sometimes entire sketchbooks full of bad drawings. And when I go and look at my cover full of sketchbooks, there are certain ones that I just look at the cover of them and I say, I just know that sketchbook is full of bad drawings. And I often don't look at them. So I thought I would grab a few of them and I would show them to you. And we could just look at them briefly together and decide. I mean, I'll be honest with you, as there's nothing more pathetic than somebody denigrating their own work. I agree with you. I mean, there's nothing to be gained by it. And I'm certainly not looking for you to tell me that they're great and I'm wrong, because that's insulting. Not really, but the fact is that it's difficult to judge your own work. It's very difficult to judge your own work just as you're doing or after you've done it, and you almost always think that it's worse than it is. But it is interesting to go back and look at work from a long time ago and say, is this as bad as I thought? So let's have a look at some of these. So here we go. So this is a Fabriano Veneziana sketchbook. It's one of my favorite kinds of sketchbooks. So there's no really excuse for the poor quality of these drawings. But when I look at this drawing, at this particular sketchbook, I often think those were bad drawings that were in that sketchbook. And I haven't really looked at it for a long time since. And these are drawings I think that were done from like TV and from magazines or whatever. So they're all a bit distracted and a bit impersonal. There's some person on the phone, I'm not sure who that is. This is my friend Nina Johansson, and it's an okay drawing. She has a very kind of mannish neck, but there you have it. This is a drawing that I did actually for a video called Study Hall, for a thing on urban sketching, and I spent a fair amount of time on this, and the watercolors, anyway, I'm not going to give you the excuses. So I associate this particular book with bad drawings, and in fact I stopped drawing in it. I did this This is kind of like a sort of drawing that I used to do quite often of my breakfast, and then the rest of it is empty. So I think this book, because it is a good quality sketchbook, is going to come with me when I go to Amsterdam. Here's another book that I had for a long time and have not looked at for ages because I know it's bad. Or I did it when I was in Los Angeles on a shoot, I think, and I was drawing with these incredibly fine rapidograph pens in those days. Lots of cross-hatching. This is a watercolor, hard to believe, and it's not because it's old that it looks like this. It's partly this paper. I mean, these are not terrible. I've always thought that these were actually worse than they are. I think sometimes what I would do is do this kind of elaborate lettering around drawings that I didn't think were terribly good, in part because it kind of distracts from it, like you read the stuff instead of looking at the drawing. Drawing a tree. This is actually, I remember doing this and thinking it was pretty good, and it's still not bad. I quite like that. This is like a study of a tree, different kinds of things. Yeah, so I mean, this is, I think, watercolor that I did on a pen that wasn't really waterproof, so that you get that sort of effect. Here's the best page. This is Jack did these drawings of the Oscars. It's pretty funny. Anyway, so that's not actually as bad as I thought. This one I know is pretty bad because this is a special sketchbook that we were given that has this special paper that you can draw on with Sharpies and it doesn't bleed through. So I thought I would do that, but boy, I mean, that kind of sums it up. So these are really, I had this idea that I would do like really big, bold, Sharpie kinds of drawings, and it'd be lots of heavy blacks. But then I quickly gave up. That's it, done, empty. This is an old one. This one isn't. I don't know. It's okay. It's again one of these ones though that whenever I open it, and it might just be because of the quality of what happens to watercolors on this paper, where they just become really faded, and so therefore I have just always thought that this was not good. So it's interesting again, what happens when this is actually like a really beautiful thing that I like. So anyway, so it's not that bad. See, this is one of the things that comes with time and distance, is you look at something and you go, I mean, I do remember doing this and not being happy, and I kept changing pens, and yeah, I still don't particularly like it. A bunch of selfies. Street corner. Views out my window. All right. So these are actually worth looking at. This is Lucinda Rogers, who's an incredible illustrator, and I'm actually going to stay at her place in London in a couple weeks. And she just did a Kickstarter for her book of New York drawings. But I don't know if you can see this, but she uses this really heavy pen to randomly make these lines. Every one of her drawings has these random lines. In fact, if you come back to here, that is one of hers. Anyway, that's not very helpful, is it? Okay. All right, so there we go. What do you think? So yes, I do abandon sketchbooks before they're full. It's a difficult thing. I mean, ideally, I would love to have every page in my sketchbook be perfect, filled edge to edge, be like little published books, publishable books, but it's not the case. But those books that I've walked away from in the middle, they are like scars, reminders of bad incidents. And it's difficult really to say in retrospect what was bad about them. I mean, what was going on that made drawings bad at that time? Was I distracted? Was I emotionally challenged in some way? Was I not feeling great about myself? These are all the things that can kind of go on when you... It's not necessarily that your drawings are bad. Your judgment is the thing that's bad. And your sense of yourself and your willingness to give yourself a hard time and just to feel like you're not capable of stuff. And that's nothing to do with drawing, really, right? Drawing is simply another opportunity for your inner critic, your monkey, to slap you around and point out how lame you are. But those sketchbooks that are sort of semi-abandoned are reminders of that, So, you do these drawings and you fill sketchbooks with them, and ideally you don't allow it to get you so down that you walk away from the sketchbook. Because a lot of times I would walk away midway thinking that it was the sketchbook's fault, or maybe I could just blame the sketchbook and go and get another one. Maybe it was the wrong proportion, the wrong kind of paper. I really wanted to try something brand new. But honestly, I often found that didn't necessarily solve the problem. You could switch to something else, to a different format, and it might not. It often did not solve the problem. And I think it's interesting to look through sketchbooks and to see how the first pages of a sketchbook are like the first days of a relationship. Full of promise and excitement and forgiveness, and then you work on these first pages and mine are often, really detailed and have a lot of stuff in them. To go back to this, now that's not a good example. Maybe this one is. Yeah, I mean, this page, let me show you this. I mean, this is the first page of the sketchbook, right? It has lots of drawings in it. Nice writing, it's kind of optimistic. So yeah, so that becomes the kind of prevailing mode, which is together we're going to make something great. So yes, so it's almost like walking away from this one relationship with the sketchbook and starting something new, but you're still there. So if you haven't dealt with whatever the baggage is, it's unlikely that this is going to solve the problem. And I haven't been drawing that. I've been drawing on the iPad for quite a lot recently, but I haven't been drawing on paper, and I haven't been drawing that much in the last few days since we came back to New York. So I thought that's where we would start. I hope that I'm not peregrinating too much, that this is still of value to you. But let's start doing some drawing, and let's try something. So if you haven't been drawing yet, please get out your sketchbook and let's try drawing. So here's what I would like to start by doing. I want to just draw a self-portrait. Just straight up do a self-portrait as kind of like a benchmark. Here's where we are today. And I have a bunch of different pens. I'm probably going to use this Lamy Safari, and I'll start there. I have my mirror right here, and let me move on to this and show you what I'm going to do. So I may not talk that much while I do this, just because I want to kind of focus on what I'm doing. So if you were just drawing, don't worry, something didn't go wrong. I'm just in drawing mode. Oh, I want to set a timer on this too. I think we'll give ourselves 4 minutes. That should be a good amount of time to just get a basic kind of thing going. Sorry, this is a distraction. There we go. feeling kind of thin already, thin-faced. You know, I'm under no illusions that I'm feeling especially thin right now, but there you have it. I've ever drawn myself wearing these glasses before. They are sort of grandmotherly glasses. All right, that's the 4 minutes. All too short. All right. Okay. So, it's vaguely interesting. Okay. So that was. What is the assignment? The assignment is to draw yourself. That is the assignment. So anyway, so that's a 4-minute drawing. Now, before we spend too much time on this, what I'd like to do is, I want to do another selfie, and I want you ideally to do another selfie too. But when I look at this and when I stare at myself in the face, I think about how I look. You know, as I said, I haven't drawn myself in a little while. I haven't drawn myself with these glasses, and I look, to me, sort of old. You know, my perception of myself is not like my grandfather, who's apparently looking at me out from the other side of this mirror. So I thought that maybe it would be interesting to say, okay, when I draw this drawing, it looks a bit of like a stranger to me, and I think that's kind of how I was feeling a little bit when I was drawing it. So I wanted to do another drawing and make it sort of more idealized. Like, what would be more the way that I think I should look, or maybe not focus on the flaws, but try and think of like a more sort of positive, upgraded version, the upgraded version of me, the idealized version of me, maybe even a more abstracted version of me. And so let's try that. So try that with yourself too. Say, like, you know, what should I look like? What am I supposed to look like? Let's see if I can do that. I'm not sure. Take a sip of water, and we have 4 minutes on the clock. And let's give it a whirl. You know, I mean, I probably should have a full head of hair, right? So maybe that's what it should be. Maybe it should be more like full head of hair, you know. Obviously, I should not have these glasses. I mean, I shouldn't have glasses at all. And for most of my life, I didn't have glasses, so this is really an anomaly. I think I'm going to have, I'm going to have a sort of incredibly strong jaw, as I'm meant to have, and a kind of a thickish neck, right? Sort of manly looking. What else? You know, strong, sort of intense eyebrows, kind of craggy looking. Yeah, craggy is not a bad term. I mean, craggy is like a nice way of saying you're old. Becoming like a manga character or something. Maybe that's my idealized form. I should be a manga character. That should be interesting. Manly. So I think these thin lips are more full-lipped. Is that a term? Full-lipped? Kind of full-bodied. I don't know who the hell this is, but it's me. It's definitely, this is the inner me. If you ever see this guy walking down the street, make sure you say hi to me. Yeah. Sort of quasi-Ken doll. That's the real me. Sad but true. How's the real you turning out? Have you lost a few pounds, lost a few wrinkles? Have you gained some character? Maybe you're actually older than you appear. I don't know. I'm not sure where I'm going with this, but hopefully we'll run out of time soon. But, you know, in my intention as we began this was, of course, to make a bad drawing, and as you can see, I'm getting better and better at that. I seem to have succeeded. This is extremely good bad drawing, extremely good. So here's another thing to think about: is a bad drawing a drawing that is objectively bad because it's just an unattractive thing, or is a bad drawing in fact something that just failed to capture your initial intention, right? I mean, if I said to myself, I want to draw something that looks like an idealized form of me, and then I look at it and go, well, it doesn't really. But, you know, I could say it doesn't really, but it does look like a nice drawing. So is that a failure? I don't know, possibly. All right, so fortunately, mercifully, our time is up, so I'm going to stop it. So there you have it. Okay. Ideal me. Right, well, that was fun. How's your idealized fun? Let's see what some people said Um, Sarah's went from looking like a woman to looking like a man. You know, Sarah, maybe there's some inner part of you that's trying to tell you something. Just saying. You never know. Not that there's anything wrong with that. What else? Failure of idealized intention. Yeah, I mean, but succeeding in creating something not great. So that was, again, part of my intention. So here we go. Now I want to try something that is going to be genuinely kind of disruptive to you. And that is to combine selfie and lefty. To take your, not lefty is not the correct term, non-dominant hand is the correct term. Are you right-handed? Then draw this with your left hand. If you're left-handed, draw it with your right hand. If you're ambidextrous, perhaps use a foot or put the pen in your mouth. I'm not sure. If you're ambidextrous, that's a great accomplishment. You could maybe do the drawing simultaneously with both hands, which is really nice to do, and you could try that. But I'm going to draw with my left hand, and probably can't use a fountain pen on this because fountain pens, you know, they are really designed the nib wears down at the angle if you're, you know, the way you hold the pen. So that is. Oh, I just want to look at a couple more comments people made. Barbara lost a few pounds and grew long eyelashes. Well, that's certainly useful. Somebody else, Pam also had long eyelashes, whereas Alice had no lines or marks or shadows. So, and our friend Cape Town Watercolor Art just had flowers. So, all nice additions. But let's get ready to try this left-handed one, okay? This is going to be tricky, but let me point out to you something really useful to think about. This drawing has a built-in excuse. I drew it with my wrong hand. So no matter how bad it is, it doesn't matter. You were brave to take this step. You're brave to try this experiment. However, it's almost certainly not going to be a good drawing. How could it be? You're drawing with a hand you don't draw with. But we'll get back and discuss whether or not that's actually the case once we've tried doing it, okay? So this will feel clumsy, it will feel awkward, it will feel like a challenge, but that's why we're here. So, okay, I'm going to set the timer, 4 minutes, here we go. Okay, left hand. Just holding the pen to the paper is already awkward. Can you see it? I know, let me switch to this view so you can see what the hell I'm doing. Okay. I don't even know where to begin. I mean, I feel like my brain is sort of turned upside down. Strangely, you'll notice I am doing what I always do, which is to start on this. You know, I'm going to start drawing on this side. This is what I should be doing. Normally, I start drawing on the left-hand side because I'm right-handed, but right now I'm not. So, okay, so this feels like I'm patting my belly and rubbing my head. Maybe I should be doing that simultaneously. Try to draw myself doing that. No, I won't. This is enough of a degree of difficulty for one drawing. The trick, I think, is to look at yourself as much as you possibly can while you're doing it. Kind of takes away some of the pressure on this poor left hand. It's not used to doing the driving. It's used to being a helper. Oh God. No, don't worry, left-handed. You're doing a fine job of it. Don't be discouraged. It works okay once you start moving, but it's like moving from place to place is the hard part. Saying to yourself, okay, let me just move it up here. It's like crazy. It's like taking one of those sort of it's like being pulled over for drunk drawing. Although I will say it is kind of nice having this other part of me do it. I mean, I'm sure you are aware of that great Betty Edwards book, Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain. You know, and I wonder if what I'm doing here is somehow bringing some of that stuff into play, which is using not only my right hand, but also using another part of my brain somehow that isn't really used to drawing. So it's kind of, it is easier, strangely, to talk while I'm drawing this way, and I wonder if that's a function of the fact that what parts of my brain are involved with drawing and talking. I'll have to stop now so I can draw my mouth, but that's it. Time's up. Time's up. It's 4 minutes. Time went by pretty quickly on that one. You know, and it's actually not, it's not bad. It's not actually a bad drawing. So what's interesting about drawing this way, as I said, first of all, we've got this built-in way of getting rid of, you know, an excuse, but that's really interesting. Fran says it's fun to watch your right hand trying to jump in and help. I wasn't even aware of that. Is that what was happening? I'll have to watch this back and see, because that would be interesting, right? Bad Habit, whose name stands for, kind of sums it up, using both hands. So that's obviously what I meant by ambidextrous. I'd be interested to know what that means, actually. Do you pass the pen back and forth between hands? Could be cool. Or do you actually use two at the same time? Very interesting. Marilyn says she broke her arm a few years ago and had to learn left-handed drawing. It didn't take long to get comfortable with it. Maybe this should be my thing. Drawing, I'll become the left-handed drawing. All right. Fantastic. Simone says my left-handed drawing is the best. Interesting. I mean, come on, that's awesome. I mean, those do not look like they were drawn by the same person, and frankly they don't look like drawn of the same person either, neither of which seems to be particularly me. Which looks more like me, though? I mean, I wouldn't on the face of it say that was a bad drawing. I mean, it has some structure to it. I think the proportions are actually better. Yeah, so I mean, theoretically, I could now go in with my right hand and fix it. John says my left-handed one is much older. There you go. Which is it truer though? That's the question. Which is more accurate? That's interesting. I'm not sure who David is, but that sounds interesting too. Yes. So Pam did justice to her wrinkles. You know, it should be like the name of a rock album, or a country album. Doing justice to my wrinkles. Yes. Fun. That was cool. So, should we do just another one? Let's just do another one now that we've thought a bit about it. I'm feeling better. I'm feeling better. This I don't know about you, but this made me feel like I could let go. I could just, knock something out. I mean, I haven't gotten into that mode. There's a mode that I get into when I'm drawing well. I know it, like I'm drawing well. This is going well. It's good. Like I'm in sync. I'm seeing clearly. And I hadn't felt that earlier, but I did feel it a bit more with that left-handed one. So I don't know if that's a key. It's like that whole feeling. My left hand draws like Picasso. Fascinating. Does your right hand draw like Andy Warhol? Could be interesting. Although I loved Andy Warhol's drawing. So Karen says, mine are all bad, so I'm having a lot of success at this exercise. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad I could bring you to this point. That is very, very nice. I'm sorry, Catherine. Yes, you're drawing David Hockney. You said it earlier. You're drawing him over and over again. I mean, what could be better? It'd be better to draw David Hockney like David Hockney. And have you ever seen his selfies? There's a really great one where he's like this, looking over and drawing, I think, on a canvas. I love that drawing of his. But yeah, but drawing him a lot could be great. We talked about David Hockney last week, as we always do. What does Renee have to say? I have had to use my left hand because of lateral epicondylitis in my right arm. Tennis elbow. What did you just say, tennis elbow? You got to get fancy. It actually feels to me like you are stretching a muscle. You definitely are stretching your brain. That's true. I think you probably are using. I mean, certainly your wrist is bent in a weird way. You're certainly using things unhanded. And Shelley, who is left-handed, gained 100 pounds by drawing with her right hand. I guess that also depends on where you started, but yeah, that could be a problem. But then I do look younger in the other-handed drawing. There's a saying. I think my wife says it. You can decide to. I think she puts it. You can save your ass or save your face. What she means by that is, if you get thinner, your ass gets smaller, but your face gets leaner and older looking. But if you're nice and plump, then you look younger. I'm just rooting around in this drawer because yesterday I was getting my passport out, and when I did, I found an old passport. I'll just grab this hold a second. So when I looked at my old, this is my brand new passport that I just got when I became an American last year. Okay. And then I found this one from a year ago. I mean, from a while ago, when I was younger, but also I was still English. Fatter and plainer, and almost looking sort of anonymous. So that was startling. Startling to see how I'd gone sort of losing weight. Made me gain years. Anyway. TMI? Possibly. Right. Okay, what is this? I'll say my face is shorter with my left hand. Shorter. Rounder? Squarer? Thinner? Was it Eva Gabor? I would like to think so. I would hope so. Very good. Okay, so are we ready to try and go and draw? This is free form, as you like it. Let's draw ourselves again and see where it goes, see where it takes us. I think maybe I'll draw smaller. That might be nice too. Smaller with a bigger pen. I'll set a timer, but if I'm feeling good, I may end up ignoring it. So I'll set a timer. We're starting now. 4 minutes again. But I think I'm going to start drawing differently. I'm going to start here. I'm just going to go more slowly and more appreciatively. You may remember we had France Belville Van Stone on Draw With Me a couple months ago, and she and I drew each other. Is that what we did? Yeah, I think so. And we were talking about the different ways that we draw, where we start, you know, and I usually tend to do this kind of drawing of the whole outside before I draw the features. Carlos Aponte, the way he describes it, he says, I build the house and then I add the furniture, which is a nice way of putting it. But today right now I'm going to start making the bed first, or at least drawing my eye. I was looking on YouTube at live drawing demos a few days ago. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of these kinds of things where people stream live drawing events. I'm certainly no pioneer. But I came upon a guy who did something I had a sort of a weird fantasy about that everybody thinks I'm sort of ridiculous or even entertaining, which is he does a drawing and he spends 24 hours on this drawing. 24 hours live, streaming on YouTube. I think he pees in bottles. I think that's one part of the thing. I didn't watch it in real time. I kind of jumped around, and he's one of these guys who's he's like a comic book kind of guy, and he did a drawing actually of like another YouTube artist, Peter Pugh. Is that his name, Peter Pugh? Anyway, our time is up, but I'm not done, so I'm going to carry on. Stop. Thank you. Yeah, and so he spends 24 hours doing this thing, and he's kind of like gets progressively sillier, and he like gets blisters. I mean, the drawing is like, it's impressive. It is impressive, and the fact that the feat of endurance. He's a guy who does that. He does these kind of crazy things. Like he'll also design drawings and then go and find other artists to complete them for him, and he pays them. He's always boasting about how much money he's spending. So he'll say, like, I'm going to spend $50,000 in cash hiring a bunch of artists to complete these drawings, and he comes up with kind of comps, like basically a composition of them, and then he goes out and he finds these guys, and then he reports on the whole process of finding them and who they are and what they did, and they record it. It's very elaborate. It's kind of like drawing isn't interesting enough. You need to sort of juice it up, sex it up with some stuff. Like maybe, I guess you can't do nudity on YouTube, but maybe naked drawing is the next thing. By naked drawing, I mean that the artist is naked. Or maybe the artist is like bungee jumping while drawing. Stunt drawing of one kind or another. Or maybe just drawing with the left hand. Maybe that's sufficient. It's just doing something like that. I'm not sure what this part of my face is called. This particular indignity. But it's definitely gotten more pronounced of late. I don't know, this I seem to be at a point in my life where my face is changing quite a lot. Things are happening to me. When I was younger, much younger, even a teenager, I wanted to be old. I thought that would be really interesting and cool and authoritative to be instead of being a stupid youth, that I would be old. It would be really cool. I don't know how I feel about it now. Being old means, you should be cool with it. It should be one of the benefits of aging is that you have peace with whatever happens to you, and your body is changing. Do you mind if I keep going? Maybe you have better things to do, in which case, that's fine. But me and my face are having fun right now. And I'm feeling a connection. If you have to go, that's fine. I understand. Go ahead. Go do what you have to do. Come back in 23 and a half hours, and I'll still be here. I'll still be here working on this. What was supposed to be a really bad drawing, but is now just going to take me a long time. I don't know if it's going to be any good or not, but I have until Monday evening. I have to go to fly to Amsterdam, so I have till then to work on this. So maybe I will. And if you're around and you want to drop by again, see how I'm doing, I'll be glad to see you. If you want to work on your own drawing, that would be good too. It's not uncommon to do self-portraits, particularly a slow self-portrait, and to end up looking kind of sad. And I think that that's sort of part of the so-called resting bitch face phenomenon that happens when you draw and you just look at yourself. Your face kind of sags and relaxes. That's sort of who you. That's the real you. That's how you are with yourself. At least, that's what you want to be. You're not like, grinning and being a hail fellow, well met, when you're not feeling like it. It's just who you are at that moment, and that's fine. So you capture that. Well, I see that people are leaving, so that's good. Carry on. As I said, I'm going to continue for this for a little while. I wish that I could see what you've done. I hope that you will share it in some way. Certainly, the Sketchbook School schoolyard would be a great place to do it. As would less Facebook. Not that into Facebook these days. But you could always send it to me or send me a link. We have been using this hashtag draw with me. I think that there are other people who also use it, so it is a little unuseful that way, because you end up coming upon a lot of other people's stuff, but that has nothing to do with this. But we could sift through that. But yeah, I think doing it in the schoolyard would be the best. Schoolyard is so sort of easy and convenient these days. It's a way of sharing stuff, talking to people. Anyway, all right, I'll stop now. That was good, sometimes like you're feeling kind of, and you go for a walk, or you go for a swim, or you take a nap, you feel like, that's what drawing is, drawing can do that. Whether it's a good drawing or a bad drawing often doesn't matter. What matters is that you spent some time, that you disengaged from the realities of life, perhaps, or the spinning bits of your brain, the pressures and stresses of life, and you just spent a few minutes for yourself, sat down and connected with the moment, with yourself. That's to me one of the great things about drawing self-portraits, and why I've drawn so many gazillions of them, because they are such a good record not only of how you look, or even of how you draw, but of how you are at that moment. Did you have time? Did you feel right? Were you clear? Were you positive? Were you concerned? What was going on with you? And you can look back at those and see this amazing diary of who you are. I mean, every one of these drawings I do, and I've said this before, of course, they're always different. They're always different, and that's because I'm different. I mean, I generally look like this, I do look slightly different from the way I looked, say, 20 years ago, but not that different. The features are basically the same. But over the 20 years that I've been doing this, of drawing myself, it's just endlessly interesting to see how it changes, and how the media that I choose change. I mean, going from a fat to a thin pen just changed it up again, because it reflected more of how I was feeling. Like by having a thinner pen, I was more focused on details. I was more focused on slowing down, I could spend some time cross-hatching. You work with a thick pen, sometimes you get bold, you get first impressions, but if you need to change your speed, you need to change your pen sometimes. And I think that's one of the lessons that you learn from doing this over and again, which is the importance of different media. It's not just about the look of it, but it's about the feel of it too. Like, what does it feel like to draw with a fountain pen? What does it feel like to draw with a brush, with a crayon? Is that how you're feeling right now? And you may not know it until you grab it. So a lot of times a bad drawing could be like it's wearing the wrong thing. You're wearing lace-up shoes when you should be wearing sneakers right now. You're wearing a tight dress when you should be wearing sweatpants. I don't know what it is, but it just doesn't feel in sync. And so your drawing isn't really expressing where you're at. You're not in that moment. And so drawing more gives you more opportunities to sync up with yourself. And to also not put the pressure of one moment, and not being excessive about it and saying this has to be good. Because it doesn't, because you can just turn the page and draw another one, and you can draw with your left hand, and you can draw an exaggerated one, and you can change your pen, and you can do all kinds of things that may bring you back into sync with yourself. And I think that those moments are the best moments of drawing. Not necessarily the best drawings, but in a way that they are the best drawings, right? They're the ones that are the most true. They're the ones that were the most fun to make. They're the ones that you got the most out of. And, this is the whole importance of having a drawing habit is to experiment, to stretch, and to put yourself into these different situations. So I encourage you to try and take this practice up. I think of all the things you could possibly draw, drawing yourself is the most illuminating. And think of the great artists who did that. Think of Van Gogh, Van Gogh, Vincent. Think about Rembrandt. Think about David Hockney. The people who I admire, Robert Crumb, did that a lot, drew themselves a lot, because I think that that's how you learn. I mean, again, it's the most convenient model right there. Just all you need is the mirror. But also the opportunity for art to help you to learn about yourself, about life, about the world around you is brought to a fine point when you're drawing these self-portraits. And also just how it makes you feel about you. I mean, I'm a jumble of neuroses and anxieties, and somehow I use my art to channel that, or not to channel it. I'm not really interested in making neurotic art. There are artists who do that. I'm interested in managing my perspective, and I'm interested in also kind of bringing into alignment the kind of distortions of my mind with the realities of the world. Because I think I'd like to see clearer. I'd like to see more objectively, and to understand the world around me as it truly is, instead of always through this mental construction that I've created over the decades. So this is the moment to do that. All right. Thanks very much. Thanks for hanging out with me. I look forward to seeing your selfies. I look forward to seeing the range of them. If you come up with any other cool ways to do this, let's do it again. Come up with some other ways. Next time we meet, if you meet me here again next Thursday, I will be on the other side of the Atlantic in the home of Van Gogh and Rembrandt, that is to say the Netherlands. And I don't know what we'll do. I'll think of it between here and then, and we'll do something cool. So thanks for joining me, and I'll see you then. Bye-bye.